we are actively supporting and helping MSMEs in capacity building and in development of MSMEs across the country. In Karnataka, we have more than about 1,000 members, and we have branches in Hubli, branches in Belgaum, and shortly we will be opening branches in other districts also. And what we do is, we are very widely recognized by both the central and the state governments, and we have been given representations in many of the consultative committees, the departments coming under various ministries. To name a few, we are on the GST Council, we are on the MSMED committee, we are on the board of PPFO and the regional committee of PPF, ESI, GST, and we are also on the ILO tripartite committee. And these are, and also on the banking, we are on the SLBC, we are in the state level export promotion body like that and all. So these are some of the representations that the government has accorded to us. So we continuously engage with the government, interact with them, and help in evolving policies that are conducive to the growth of MSMEs. And not only that, we also conduct a lot of workshops and seminars to carry on the information to create awareness about the government policies and programs. And for the existing industries who are basically the manufacturing enterprises, we conduct a lot of programs and workshops on capacity building, on improving their business segments, on technology transfer, on providing some marketing assistance like that and all. We also conduct the prestigious India Manufacturing Show, an international exhibition wherein the large and small industries converge on one platform and exchange their business views. And parallelly, we also conduct many seminars on the IMS exhibitions. Actually, we have successfully completed about 4 exhibitions, and the 5th one is slated during the next year, October, actually. And we also help the startups, and we had recently conducted one All India Tech Bharat event where more than about 600 startups had participated, and we had identified about 12 or so emerging startups and encouraged them with providing them with financial assistance and all. Chris Gopal Krishna is our mentor for this program. And not only that, we are just not satisfied in serving the existing industries. We have also tied up with many institutions like NMIT, Dayanand Sagar and all. We conduct EDP programs there and encourage youngsters to take up entrepreneurship. And these are some of the activities. And we are also having a very active women entrepreneur cell where we conduct a lot of marketing melas and tailor-made programs for women entrepreneurs, starting from financial literacy to market promotion. So these are some of the activities of Laghu Udyog Bharati. So Laghu Udyog Bharati and the MSMEs are very much interconnected, I would say. And that is where we have some relevance in today's program. And talking about the industries and MSME segments, you all know that the MSMEs are the backbone of the Indian economy. In fact, they are one of the largest contributors in terms of economic development, in terms of job creation. We have over 70 lakh small and medium enterprises in the country, which employ nearly about 12 crore people. And all of you know that India is emerging as one of the youngest nations in terms of the youth population. If we look at the median age, I think the youth population with the age of 20 to 25, we will be having the maximum in the world, I would say. So that's where people say that India is going to be the youth nation in terms of the median age. So this gives us a lot of opportunity as well as challenge to us also, because the youth have to be gainfully employed. Otherwise, it will create a lot of difficulties for the society and for the nation also. So in this context, since industries account for major job creation, the government and the industry associations also want more and more industries to come up actually. And that's the reason our Honorable Prime Minister started the initiative of Make in India. And last year also, he laid down a vision where the Indian economy should be a $5 trillion US dollar economy by 2025. And he asked all of us to work in that direction to see that India becomes an economic powerhouse and a developed nation. So for all this to happen, we need to have more and more industries coming on, more and more foreign investments to come in. And actually, one of the major constraints which the industry and which even the foreign investors were expressing were that India, though has opened up, still there are a lot of regulations and there are a lot of formalities to be completed in terms of compliances like that and all. And government has very seriously thought over it and introduced several reforms. In fact, on taxation, a lot of improvement has already come with the introduction of GST and DTC. And even the land also, a lot of improvements are being made for acquiring land for starting industries. But labor is one aspect which continues to be an area of concern. In fact, this has been a very continuous exercise over the last 10 years, and the government had constituted a National Labour Commission to go into the aspects of simplification of labor laws. And the NLC had thought over the whole subject and identified about 4 areas which need to be looked into. That is the area of industrial disputes, the working conditions, the social securities, and the wages. So they came up with a lot of recommendations and suggested several reforms. And in fact, being a federal structure, labor is one concurrent subject where even the states as well as the central government has equal powers to formulate the rules and do the implementations. And somewhere I was reading that the states, there are more than 300 laws actually, spread over the country. And the central laws, there are about 40 to 45 central laws which are governing the labor and handling of labor by the industries actually. And obviously this would call for too much of regulations, too much of inspections, too much of return filing and all those things. And this was an area where the industries were frequently expressing concern. And even the World Bank and the foreign investors also were telling that this needs to be simplified if the business has to grow and if people have to come from various countries and do business. And in fact, ease of doing business. Rather, they were telling that it's more difficult to do business in our country than elsewhere. And 5 years back, if we look at it, the ease of doing business also was somewhere around 112 or so. And of course, now through series of measures, we have improved and jumped up to the 63rd ranking as per the recent survey actually. So labor reforms have started coming in actually. And from the year 2018 onwards, series of drastic measures have been introduced. And the government is now focusing only on the central laws and left the states to evolve their own simplified labor norms. Among the central laws, government has now done the simplification and subsumed many of the existing laws into 4 major wage codes actually. And those codes are, one is Code on Industrial Relations. In fact, Code on Industrial Relations actually consolidates the 3 earlier regulations, that is the Industrial Disputes Act, the Trade Union Act, and the Standing Orders. They've also increased the numbers from 100 numbers earlier to about 300 numbers. Then done a lot of liberalization when it comes to negotiations, layoffs, closures, handling of union and recognizing one major union like that and all. The next major reform that has already been introduced is with respect to the Code on Social Security. In fact, this comprises of 9 rules, mainly in the area of social security for the workers actually. And that covers employee benefits, ESI, EPF, gratuity, unorganized workers, then fixed term employment. And there is more focus on digitalization and a sort of consultative approach has been evolved now. So that is the second code. The third code is code on safety, health, and occupational hazards. And there were about 13 rules earlier in these areas, mainly connected with the Factories Act, with the Dock Workers Act, with migrant labor, then occupational safety, licensing, working hours, etc. All these have now been simplified into one code. And in fact, even there used to be a lot of litigations and all. Even that also, the government has brought in a rule where only the high courts can intervene and handle the issues connected with these disputes arising, anything like that. Then the fourth important thing is the code on wages, actually. So this has subsumed about 4 acts: the Payment of Wages Act, Payment of Minimum Wages, Equal Remuneration, Bonus. And in this, the government had introduced the concept of floor wages when it comes to minimum wages. So they want to fix one minimum national floor wage, beyond which the state governments can fix anything, but they cannot fix anything lower than the national minimum floor wage, because minimum wages vary from one state to one state, and there used to be a lot of imbalance. Again, some sort of universality, to bring in some sort of uniformity, government has introduced this code on wages. It has already been approved in the parliament, gazetted also, but the pre-gazette notification has been notified, and we had time. I think we still have time, about another 10 days or so. The experts later on that to give our views, and after that, the final notification will come. And for all these things, Laghu Udyog Bharati also has been giving a lot of suggestions, and we have attended many consultative meetings also. I don't want to go into the technical details of that now, because there are many subject experts who will be talking at length on these subjects. And Mr. Ram Navrata, I know he has been in FKCCI also. I have followed him on many occasions, and he's a subject expert. So I would rather limit myself to the general aspects. And generally speaking, while we welcome all these initiatives of the government in improving the ease of doing business, there are also concerns expressed by the labor class, expressed by the trade unions. So there has to be a certain amount of balance, in providing social security, as well as giving a free and a liberal environment for industries to come in also. So I think in the foregoing sessions, the experts and the participants will be discussing on various subjects, like what needs to be done and all. And I'm sure it would be a very enriching experience for me, for the participants, and for all of us, actually. So programs like this are definitely needed, because government wants our inputs, and government also wants the citizens and the stakeholders to know about what they are doing. And these are certainly laudable efforts, and I must really appreciate MLA College and Academy of Higher Learning for conducting such programs. In fact, last year I had participated. There was, I think, a seminar on the taxation and how we move forward when it comes to building the economy to 5 trillion US dollars. And it was a very enriching experience for me, for my colleagues who had participated also. So once again, my deep appreciation to the faculty, to the principal, and to the institute itself for taking up such subjects. And we from Laghu Udyog Bharati would be very keen to associate ourselves in all your upcoming programs. Like I said earlier, we are already associated with many other institutions, and we would very much like to get ourselves involved into your activities also, and share our ideas and benefit ourselves also from your experiences. Right? So with this, I think I would like to end on this, and I would once again thank everybody for the opportunity given, and hope the seminar will have useful takeaways for all the participants. Thank you very much, and my respects to the principal and to the chief guest. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech and giving enlightenment on the labor reforms. May I request once again Sandesh sir to consider the profile of the today's program president, Mr. Glenn Bruss sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rajkumar sir. Mr. Glenn has over 35 years of experience in the areas of human resources, administration, and facility management in top-tier Corolla, ANZ Information Technology, Yokogawa Blue Star, United Breweries, and Society General Global Solutions, where he was the Director, Human Resource and Corporate Governance, before moving on to become an entrepreneur in management and human resource consultancy. Apart from providing consultancy services, he is active in the field of education as visiting faculty and guest lecturer for postgraduate students in various management institutions. He also provides executive coaching and mentoring for several senior executives in addition to career counseling for youth. He is also involved in several social service programs, especially in connection with education and well-being of underprivileged children. In addition, he is currently the head HR at Evaluation India Private Limited. He has successfully completed the Competent Toastmaster program as well. And also, he is the external expert of IQAC at MLA Academy of Higher Learning, Malleshwaram, Bangalore. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Glenn, sir,
can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me?
Hello, sir.
Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Now we are able to hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Sandesh, and good morning, everyone. I think Mr. Datta gave us a very good overview of the current situation in his introductory keynote address. And before I start, I'd like to extend a sincere word of thanks to Dr. Padmaja, the principal of MLA Academy of Higher Learning, along with her team who have organized this event. Labor reforms has been a crying need from organizations as well as from workers over the years. There have been many attempts to bring in rationalization, but with little effect. It was in the early 90s when the liberalization period started that the talk about labor reforms was also initiated, but nothing happened. It was only over the last 10 years that things took a serious turn, and the government decided that, the present government decided that we need to move on this, and labor reforms was a necessity. Like Mr. Datta had explained, one of the primary reasons for introducing labor reforms was the ease of doing business. Organizations, especially international organizations, MNCs, had a common complaint. We cannot deal with the red tapeism in Indian business. We cannot deal with the multiplicity of permissions that are needed to be able to start a business. We cannot deal with the conditions laid down in the laws to be able to be free to choose to select how we run our business. So these were things that were worrying the organizations, were worrying entrepreneurs, and were worrying the government. However, there was a lot of resistance from the labor unions when the government spoke of trying to bring about reforms. Notwithstanding the difficulties that they faced, a few weeks ago, the government notified 3 acts, which actually subsumed as many as 25 existing acts and made it condense them into three. Primarily, as Mr. Datta had already explained to you, the three acts are Occupational Safety, Health, and Working Conditions Code. This subsumed 13 acts. I'm not going to go into that because I'm sure our technical speakers will talk to you about that. But this subsumed 13 acts. Then there is the Industrial Relations Code, which subsumed 3 acts. And finally, there's the Code on Social Security, which subsumed 9 acts. So can you imagine 25 acts being condensed into 3 comprehensive acts? And I must tell you, I just had a chance to go through them and understand what they were about, and it makes a lot of sense. Of course, there are questions as to who is going to benefit. Is it labor? Is it organizations? Is it management? These are things that will be discussed and will continue to be discussed. But it is a good start. There are a lot of advantages, especially when it comes to those section of the workers who did not have much of a say in either their own careers, in their own jobs, or in participation in the management in organizations and companies. With the new laws that have been enacted, of course, the rules are still to be framed. As Mr. Datta says, this will be happening. The gazetted notification, etc., will be coming out. The rules will be framed. Initially, the central government has to finalize those rules, and then industries and state governments need to sort of adapt them to their individual situations. But what is important is that there are new definitions, there are new understandings of what needs to be done. Okay, there are new ways of looking at who a worker is, who an employee is, what can be done apart from provident fund and gratuity, etc. How can we bring about a sort of a social security net to protect every possible individual who was so far not recognized as part of the working group. They have introduced terms like gig workers, platform workers. They have introduced coverage for people who are self-employed, house workers, etc. So these are all wonderful things that are there in the acts. What is important now is how we actually begin to implement and put into practice what is the spirit behind these acts. On the one hand, we have the management, we have the corporations. Their primary aim, productivity, profitability. On the other hand, we have labor, we have employees. Their primary concern, their own social security, their own personal financial security, social security, etc. The purpose of bringing about an enactment in terms of these 3 acts is to try to make it easy for both organizations as well as labor to bring together their understanding of what is required in order that they may both grow and develop. If your employee is happy, he is going to work hard, he is going to produce results, he is going to produce quality products. Who benefits? The organization benefits. If the organization takes care of their employees, whatever may be the type of employee, fixed term employee, permanent employee, gig worker, platform employee, contract, whatever may be the nature of employment, if the management says the employee is my responsibility, okay, and I need to take care of the employee, okay, and does what is required in terms of not just the office or the working environment, but in terms of the personal care of the employee, the family care of the employee, the health aspects of the employee and his family, the financial aspects of the employee and his family, insurance matters, health matters, hospitalization, all these things. If the organization can say that these are my responsibilities, I've got to take care of my employees, you can be sure an employee will give their best to the organization. So it's very important. It's no longer me as a trade union member, me as an employee versus you as a management, you as an organization. No, it is we together need to work to bring both the organization and individual aspirations together and produce the desired results. Profitability to make everyone, all the stakeholders happy, and productivity to ensure that the employee is happy and he is rewarded with appropriate benefits, whether it be bonuses or incentives, etc., etc. So this is the primary goal of bringing together all these various acts and bringing them under these three heads, which I briefly enumerated. The days are over when it was a confrontation between employees and management. I think today, employees have also reached a level of maturity because of the education they have received, because of the way they have tried to understand what is happening around them, to know that they are not going to gain by confrontation. Similarly with management. Like Mr. Datta explained, today we have a young workforce. The young workforce are an intelligent workforce. The young workforce is an enthusiastic workforce. The young workforce is an aspirational workforce. The management should look at that and say, let us utilize the strengths of this young workforce. Let us make them the management. Let us create future entrepreneurs from this young workforce and do whatever they can using not just the acts, but using their own initiative to be able to ensure that the environment, the industrial environment, is something that is very conducive to the growth of organizations and individual employees. The future is going to change. We can already see that happening with this pandemic. The style of working is changing. We can see it. It is visible to every one of us. Today, brick and mortar companies are becoming virtual organizations. It has its advantages and disadvantages, but the responsibility on both management and employees to be able to synchronize and work together becomes more challenging. I am sure that these various acts should act only as guidelines. They are there to act as signposts to tell us what we can do and what we cannot do. They should not become documents which are to be followed only in letter. They have to be documents which are there only as signposts. It is for us, both as management and employees, to see how best we can actually imbibe the spirit of these acts. How best we can actually then deploy our capabilities to ensure that both individuals and organizations grow. If entrepreneurs see that it is worth doing business, we will have more entrepreneurs. If employees see that it is worth working in organizations in whatever capacity, more people will want to come out and join and contribute to the growth of corporate India. Therefore, all that I'm trying to say is, like I said, just an overview. We can definitely hear a lot more about the technicalities of these 3 acts in the coming 2 sessions because we've got experts to talk about them. Please ask questions. Please note down your queries. If you have any doubts, bring them up during the technical sessions. I'm sure our technical experts will be more than happy to respond to your queries so that you have a clarity about the way forward. Like I said, these are changing times. I'm sure things are going to change even more in the years to come, not years to come, in the months to come, in the weeks to come, in the days to come. We have to be ready for change, whether it be from the side of the management, whether it be from the side of the employee. We have to be ready to adapt to new situations. 9 months ago, who ever thought work from home is going to become the norm? Who ever thought we would be having online seminars? We would be having online classes. Who ever thought about it? Yet today, it has become an everyday issue. Therefore, we need to keep our minds open. We need to be flexible about what we intend, how we intend to do things. Let us not be caught up in the old way of living. We can only go forward by embracing change. And in terms of organizations, in terms of industries, in terms of labor, a good start has been made by enacting these 3 acts, by bringing together labor reforms. Let us try to understand what is our responsibility in making these reforms a success. I'm sure none of us are here to be a hindrance in our workplace, be it management, be it employees. We all join organizations in order to be able to grow. We have aspirations when we join organizations. Management has great expectations of employees when they join organizations. It is for us to join hands and work together in an environment that is a happy environment. You can be happy in an working environment only if you are recognized, only if you are appreciated, only if you are rewarded. And I'm sure management will do that. But at the same time, in order to be able to get these rewards, in order to be able to get these appreciations, we as employees should be able to contribute to the growth of the organization. With that, I end these few words and I wish you all success in today's seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs for the today's session, sir. So now I take this opportunity to thank our chief guest and keynote speaker, Mr. Shrikant Datta, sir, President Laghu Udyog Bharati, Karnataka. And also I thanked today's program president, Mr. Glenn Bruss, sir, for giving all the inputs on labor reforms and all the management areas he has given the speech. Being with this and making this event as a grand success. Now we are going to start with the technical sessions. Okay. Instruction to the participant. I request all the participants to mute yourself. We'll be having the question and answer sessions after the technical session 1. And the question and answer will be given for 15 minutes. So now let us begin with the technical session 1. May I now request Mr. Praveen, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce and Management at MLA Academy of Higher Learning, to constitute the profile of Mr. Ram Navratna sir as a resource person for the day. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Very good morning to one and all. It's my indeed privilege to introduce and welcome the technical session 1 chief guest. Mr. Ramke Navaratnam, sir, is a postgraduate in social work from Karnataka University. In addition to his PG qualification, he is holding Diploma in Labor and Administrative Law, Diploma in Personnel Management and Industrial Relations, Diploma in Training and Development. Sir started his career in the year 1982 as a personnel officer and rose to the rank of General Manager HR. He has a rich experience in mining, steel, transport, printing, engineering, garment, granite, food processing and pharma industry. Sir has also 30 years of experience in the field of personnel, industrial relations, administration, license, HRD and training. He served in Sandur Manganese and Iron Ores Limited, Indo Nissin Food Limited, Hind High Vacuum and Sami Labs Limited. He worked in the capacity of General Manager, HRD and Training at Sami Lab Limited. His area of interest and experience follows like this: performance management, corporate social responsibility, training and development, brand awareness from employer-employee perspective, building successful working relationship with working teams, statutory compliance, and employee satisfaction scores. Sir is a successful HR practicing professional. Sir has authored 11 books in HR field. To name a few: Practical Guide to Personnel Profession with reference to small and medium organization, HRD Circular Models and Dignified Workplace, Karmika Kavya Sankalanam, Manava Sampanmula Margadarshi, Human Resource Guide, Handbook on Domestic Enquiry in Kannada, Karmika Kanunu Kalyana Mattu Shikshana. So these are all the few books sir has authored. As an innovative approach, first time in the history of labor law, he brought 13 labor laws as songs in Kannada, which received well attention from HR professionals and government of Karnataka. Various industries and departments honored him for this innovative work, which reached common workforce in the industry. Sir has received recognition award from NIPM, Karnataka chapter and few other bodies for his literary works of HR and labor laws. In addition to his authorship, many of his useful articles published in professional journals, and he is a regular writer in the Human Resource Journal of National Institute of Personnel Management. Currently, he is holding the following positions in the profession: life member in NIPM NHRD Karnataka chapter, founder secretary Kunigal Taluk Industries Association, member of FKCCI. In addition to his proficiency in HR consulting, compliance management, Sir is well-known trainer in English and Kannada. So far, he has conducted innumerable training programs covering various level participants. His programs cover from operators to senior managers level. His programs to students are also noteworthy. His training sessions are well received and accepted by the needy. Sir has delivered talks and made presentations in various educational professional institutions, corporate and other forums. Sir conducts open house as well as in-house programs at all places in addition to HR consultancy services. As he likes and enjoys in sharing his knowledge and experience, he has trained more than 48,000 participants on various themes of all levels. Currently, he is running HR and training services under the brand name HR Resonance, and he is the chief executive of this firm in Bangalore. Sir, on behalf of management, Principal Madam, and the staff of MLA, I extend a warm welcome you, sir.
Over to you, sir. Ram, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you very much for the Honorable Principal and managing committee and all the MLA team. My job is become very easy because so far Srikant and Glenn, they narrated the background objectives of all this legislation. So that way, not to that extent, I can save the time. So while how the industries should be there, Mr. Srikant has elaborated very well how it has to go. And while Mr. Glenn, all these laws, how they should enable the people to align, participate, and go together and develop with each other. He has given a proper perspective and alignment. That is very good. Now, can you play my display my PPT?
Sure, sir. I will do
Labor
that.
code first.
Yeah. Part 1, right, sir?
Okay. So, yeah, part 1.
Yes.
So, friends, now directly coming to the subject, the objectives of these laws, then National Labour Commission reports, then documentation of the legislation, then a standing committee observations. With all that, started in 2009, now it has passed in 2020. Today, I am going to throw a light on 3 codes of 220. I am not touching code. That is code on which I am not touching. So 3 codes I am taking. As it is said, the whole objective is to consolidate these laws, rationalize, simplify, avoid duplication, and avoid multiplicity of authorities, and also the compliance point of view, returns and books. I think to that extent, this objective is achieved, in my opinion, at this juncture. So, covering of 3 legislations in this time, let me try to manage my time. Therefore, I will be a little fast. For that, you have to excuse me. So, employment laws, first, take next slide. So, next, as it was mentioned, consolidation, take next slide. Take next slide. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Please take next slide.
Okay.
Next.
Sir. Right, sir?
I think before that you have to go.
Applicability, sir?
Yeah, I think that you are right. Applicability.
Yes, sir. It is open now.
Okay. And in the first instance, as it is said, the amalgamation or subjugating of 3 laws, what we call employment laws in labor laws, that is the ID Act, Industrial Employment Standing Order Act, and Trade Union Act. So these were all different now subsumed. Some are new, some are old, but some very important elements have been added in this. In the first instance, it applies to all establishments with separate thresholds, particularly in the matter of separation, that is layoff, retrenchment, closure, and also in the standing order, and also in the respect of Trade Union Act. And it is applicable to all establishments and workers. So what are all the key features? First, quickly I'll highlight and then I'll go for little details. The very important and new fact we found in this act is fixed term employment. Of course, this fixed term employment is not new because it was already inserted earlier only in Industrial Dispute Act. But now it has given impetus and perhaps need might have come more. So that is explained and added in this code and as well as in the Standing Order Act. What are all the benefits? Next we will see in that. Another important provision and the key feature is, so far all the time we used to hear or read only the definition of worker. So now it has the definition of employee is also added, wherein the manager, clerical staff, all are added. So there is one of the advantage. Of course, earlier it started with Employees Compensation Act also. When it was amended in 2010, earlier which we used to call it as Workmen's Compensation Act, plus and other things were added, thereby it became Employees Compensation Act. Can I go ahead? Hello?
Sorry, sir. Sorry for that disturbance. Just a minute. I request all the participants, please, to mute themselves because otherwise it will be a disturbance for others and for the speakers. Thank you. Sir, continue, sir.
So therefore, employee definition is added, thereby the benefits of law is available for everybody. That is one of the important aspects one should keep in mind. And another in this, occupier is added in the definition of employer, which was not there. Occupier is one who has got ultimate control over the affairs of the company, and that is really very relevant. The same way, for so many years, as our earlier speakers mentioned, employer, how he should be there. Now, the contractor is also added in the definition of the employer, which is really a good move. So therefore, contractor is liable. Otherwise, earlier we used to talk of for everything, the bad or good acts of a contractor, principal employer was responsible. Now, which is taken out and contractor has become the employer. And the workman definition is widened. That is another new feature. Then registration of trade union, that is another new factor. And another important aspect, segregation of industrial establishment. So that has been added, thereby it is an advantage for the employer. And as earlier speakers also said, because it has extended its beneficial hands by adding unorganized workers in this. Then earlier in any of these courts or authorities, only one person was there. Now in a tribunal consists of judicial person plus one administrative member. So instead of one, two is added. It has got multifarious advantage, legal as well as practical aspects, and in the time factor also. Then the recovery of money by employers, now that has been reduced for 1 year. Earlier, it was deeper. Then flash strike. Yeah, this is all very, very important in many of the organizations wherever unions are militant or where cordial relationships were not there. Strike was a problem. That is why there was a provision. If 7 persons, a concerted effort without noticing they make, employer had a power to deduct the wages. So this flash strike is completely prohibited. So that is one of the salient feature and advantage for both industries and stakeholders. Strike also, earlier the notice was only for public utility service. So now it has been added for all the organizations, I mean all the sectors, 14 days prior notice with 60 days. Then earlier, sufficient number of women, that was a thing. Now it is a representation of women is met because women are more entering into the employment market, which is a due recognition and representation. And also the time limit I have seen, because I'm appearing before so many authorities, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, disputes will come, they make an application, they file a petition, unnecessary time is wasted of the industries as well as the authorities. So therefore, time limit is also set for that. Then another new feature in this code is a reskilling fund. Of course, still clarity has to come how it is going to be done, who are all, how it is all going to be extended. Still, we have to wait for details of that. But whenever retrenchment happens, an employer is supposed to contribute for that. Then earlier also in 2010, ID Act was amended, grievance redressal committee was added, where there are more than 20 workmen will be there, the employer's obligation to form a grievance redressal committee consisting of 6 persons. It has ensured and it was good. Now it has given for this committee enlarged scope and the role is increased by enhancing the number 6 to 10, and also the how it has to go, what is the percentage, how that is called as a redressal, how it has to be accepted. If it is not resolved, then what are all the steps, then wider things are all given, and this is one of the important aspects. In earlier 2010, it was mentioned if there is a grievance committee mandatory, but if there is a grievance handling system or anything is there, then it need not be. But in this current law, that fact is silent about it. It means, in my understanding, it is a mandate, and where there are more than 20 workmen, it has to be formed and go as per that and make a document of that, even as a compliance point of view. Then a standing order, which is another important aspect, and I'll go into the detail in that. Then mass leave also, I have already told. Then, earlier we used to call chapter 5 and chapter 5B, which was a great hindrance. Our earlier speaker said, we were all fighting because of that. The employer had, whenever he starts, he should have a power to close or reduce or increase based on the flexibility of the business and market demand. So after a long talk and thing, ultimately it has been ensured and incorporated, which is a good from the flexibility of the business, while the employer has to take care of the employees. So now, I think slide you have come forward. Can you just go back and now so far I said the features. Okay, even go back. Now. Okay, now employee, it has been already added. Therefore, I will not go into this. Okay. Then workers thing is also broadened. I will not, but only here, the clause is a person who has been dismissed, discharged, retrenched, or otherwise terminated is added in this definition. So that is what one of the important things was to keep in mind and aware. And apprentice registered under the Apprentice Act are excluded from the definition of the workman. And also another important feature one should keep in mind, and the impact is definition of worker will be based on the basis of wages being drawn by him, and that is 88,000 and below is prescribed. So earlier there was no any wage criteria, but here wage criteria is also added. So that is one of the important feature we can. Next slide. Next. The next slide, please. Hello. Then, what are all the procedural requirements? Okay. Now, in this, streamlined structures of industrial disputes and resolution. So, one of the objective was to remove multifarious authorities, adjudicating bodies, etc. Now, the code provides for the resolution of disputes through conciliation officer and industrial tribunal and national tribunal. Earlier, what we used to say to a definition, either worker, whenever he has any issue, he can directly go and file a case in labor court. But now it is made through conciliation officer, and certain time is also around 45 days time has been also mentioned. After that only, they can go and approach the tribunal, so that at conciliation levels, lot of things can be resolved. That is the idea. So introduction of the two members, this I have already told you. Next. And the previous strikes and lockouts. Go to previous slide. Strikes and lockouts. Okay, notice, as I said earlier, it was only for the public utility service. Now, notice is they have to provide for 60 days notice. It means notice period is valid for 60 days. Okay, as opposed to 6 weeks in current regime, and 14 days also the prohibition of strike or lockout within 14 days. And this is applicable to all establishments. Okay, and another important factor, as a labor law practitioner or HR persons are aware, if any strike is contemplated or unrest is started, we used to write immediately to the conciliation officer and used to request him to intervene in the matter. So thereby, it was binding, then, further consequences can be reduced and avoided. So here also in the new law, reporting by the employer to the authorities within 5 days is mentioned, which one should keep in mind as far as the compliance and follow is concerned. And the next is provisions for retrenchment, layoff, and closure. Earlier, immemorial days, we have seen what I used to say earlier, Chapter 5 and Chapter 5B. Chapter 5 was applicable for the organizations where 100 and below employees were there, where this layoff, retrenchment, closure was easy only with the information to the government. But whereas Chapter 5B, which was applicable for over and above 100 employees, if at all employer wanted to resort for layoff, retrenchment, and closure, prior approval was necessary. So now all the employers were fighting for this, and it was a hard nut to crack for more than 2 decades. Now it has come through. Now the provision is made. 300 is the now threshold limit it is made. It means below 300 employees in any organization is there. Now, based on the business or marketing conditions or good and bad or catastrophe, the employer can decide, take a call in respect of layoff, retrenchment, and closure. Only one thing here, what I find is not clear. In earlier act, if there were a number of below 50 in case of layoff or retrenchment and closure, there was no anything was required. The employer can straight away go with that. Anyway, now that specificity is not there. Therefore, till 300, below 300, now the employer has got all the provision, so that this is one of the important factor for doing the ease of the business, or in HR language, what it is can say hire and fire or downsize or the right size, whatever that is all possible. Of course, following to certain procedures and the employees' welfare systems and procedures have to come to the help. So this is one of the very important aspect on this. So therefore, one should be aware. This is the salient feature and a good thing as from the doing ease of the business. Next. Okay, and please, previous slide, please. Oh, okay. And threshold I have already taken. Then when in the case of now above 300 employees, now permission is required, procedures have to be followed. Now in this chapter 11 of section 23 introduced workers reskilling fund, okay, which is a new concept. It is a really good also, but we have to see the details, how it is going to work. So how it is all going to be there. Okay, that is about a 15 days wages. It is said anyway, central government has to come with details and rules for that. And disputes relating to the termination of individual worker. So as I said, now apply to the 45 days in the conciliation it has to go. Then after that he can do this one. And also the arbitration which was there in the earlier act, it is all continuing. So based on the situation and requirement, so both the stakeholders can make use of that. Next.
Yes,
now grievance redressal committee I have already taken, and one more important thing for this chapter one must be aware. Commencement of conciliation proceedings. Earlier, when we used to write, once that letter is acknowledged, we used to say it is in operation. But now the conciliation proceedings will now commence from the day on which the first meeting is held by the conciliation officer, because it is a dialogue between the affected parties. So once the first meeting is started, it is mentioned commencement of conciliation proceedings. Okay, then there will be bar for the continuation of the process. Next. And as far as the next slide, please. As far as the compensation is concerned, that is above 300 employees, that is a notice period and for every completed year of the service, 15 days wages, they are all unaltered. Okay, therefore they are all going. Therefore, I am not talking about that. So this is all about the industrial dispute act, okay, which was all, okay, which was all new things. They are all really good for the employer and for the running industry. I think thereby we feel, okay, process should start and the constraints would be less. That is what we are forcing. That is what my personal opinion also. Earlier, when I was in the employment in the year 90, so many industries, apparel industries, came to Bangalore from Delhi and Mumbai. So I was working. The first question the entrepreneurs or the managements used to ask: if my business don't go well, then can I stop my organization? Can I close the factory? Are there any hurdles? They used to ask me the first question. Then I used to say, more than 100 employees, you should not employ. If we employ, procedural things are there. Then they used to get worried. So now that problem has gone. This is one of the classic examples which we earlier used to face. Now, second important enactment, that is on standing orders, which has come really, very revolutionary, I can say. Earlier, the applicability of the standing order as far as the central regulations are concerned, where there are more than 100 workmen, applicability used to start in certain states like Karnataka also. 50 and above, applicability was there in standing order. So now that has been changed to 300. So all the managements where there are engagement of more than 300 employees, now they are obliged or the obligation to prepare a draft standing order, submit and get it certified, which will have a legal entity for that. Now that has been removed. So below 300, okay, there should not be any certification. But one thing we should keep in mind, many HR practitioners or legal people are aware, there is an existence of model standing order for workmen as well as for the clerks. Anyway, though it is there, it is not exhaustive, it is old law. But now the government has said, government may come out with a model standing order for below 300 employees, wherever that is there, that is applicable and they can follow. Otherwise also, as a management and an employer, they can follow the model standing order. If they want to add any new clauses or any amendments they can make, they can draft and submit and get it certified, then that becomes certified. That provision is also incorporated here. However, there is a lesson for all industries and HR, where there is a strength is below 300. Now, in the absence of certified standing order and also in the absence of detailed model standing order, each organization has to structure, revise, write all terms and conditions, rather to put it in one word, service conditions rules for all the people from the day one, practice, communicate, have the acknowledgement and practice, thereby they are all safe and compliance will become easy and the litigations will be less because everybody is aware. Another most important factor is in the standing order is FTE, that is fixed term employment. Clause is added in the types of the employees. That is one of the important aspects. Of course, it is not new as far as the legal professions are concerned. Those who are well versed with the Industrial Dispute Act, clause was there. But however, now it has been made specific, maybe the need of the hour or change in the environment. In fixed term of employment, one thing everybody should keep in mind, they cannot appoint all the people on fixed term employment only. You should have certain period, maybe one renewal, two renewal, like 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. Okay, like that should be there. It cannot be long. Okay, that is one thing. Fixed term employment, maybe extension of the order, maybe some special technology inventions, maybe some special project, or maybe some special study, or some technology imbibing, etc., etc. These are some of the examples wherein we cannot employ the regular people. In all such case, fixed term employment we can make. The difference and advantage in this present fixed term employment is, for all practical purpose, they are going to get benefits like on par with regular employees, whether it is leave, whether it is a holiday, whatever salary is fixed, and also the gratuity benefit. Even if they work for 2 years, gratuity has to be paid, not like completion of 5 years, etc. And once the term is over, okay, that is all end of the contract. There is no any obligation of retrenchment or any other thing. Automatically, it comes to an end. Even the notice may be also not required. That is what the fixed term of employment. So it has to be used discreetly to the need. However, it is good for the employer, as I said, for technology innovation, special projects, maybe marketing demand, or some rationalization, okay, etc., etc. That is what one of the persons have to keep in the mind. Okay, next slide. Next. Then next one important act is Trade Union Act. This is also one of the important act. As an industrial relations professions, I deal with so many trade union leaders, even at the national level. They are my friends. Always they used to say, whenever we used to discuss about the dispute, sir, there is no any law in our country for the recognition of the union. Okay, even we have to fight for the recognition. Even we have to fight for our negotiating agent. Even we have to beg the employer, please recognize, please have a dialogue with us, please have the agreement with us. So there is no recognition. Because of that, lot of time is spent, disputes are going on, and friction will be there, ill will be there. So now in this thing, it is all removed. One way it is good. Introduction of negotiating council or sole negotiating union to become a single point of contact with the employer. So this is one of the great recognition and a good point as far as higher situation is concerned, wherever particularly unions are there, okay, wherever mutual this dialogue will happen, this is really very good. Hassles are reduced. And a composition of negotiating council or sole negotiation union, okay, wherever there are 2 or more trade unions, designate trade union with 51% or more support as a sole negotiating union. So this has been made very clear. And where there are 2 more trade unions, each with less than 51% support, designate 1 representative for each 20% of support in negotiating council. So all these have been made very clear. So therefore, wherever unions are there, wherever now recognition or acceptance of the negotiating council or negotiating body is very clear for the management. And where there is 1 trade union, designate it as a sole negotiating union. Once the charter of demand is there, they can start initiating the dialogue and discussion. That becomes easy. Otherwise, what I have seen in the field, in many of the companies, no, we don't want to recognize the union. No, they don't have the majority. No, they are not the good. We don't want to do. Lot of time and friction will go, and a lot of gossip will happen in the shop floor and other floor, and time is being wasted. That has been removed now. That way it is good. And the recognition of trade union or federation at central and state level, that is also good. And many of the medium and small organizations, normally what they do, they don't have the local or representatives. With the representatives, they affiliate to the national or central one thing. So that has been recognized that they can do. So this is one of the salient feature of the act. Next.
Yes, sir. Last to 4 seconds, sir.
And so these are the, yeah, it is not moving.
So it came now.
Okay. Go back. I did not see. Go back. Next. Register and go back.
This is trade union, sir.
Okay, it is okay. Yeah, take next.
Registers and returns.
Yeah, next is registers and returns and displays. Coming to the compliance aspect of the regulations, Code has introduced provision relating to the intimation to the authority in electronic form, such as submission of draft standing orders, registration of trade union, notice of closure of industrial undertaking, etc. This is really good in consonance with the technology prevailing and also what we say virtual thing. So otherwise, earlier days, file set, we have to submit, okay, get it done, all that, and a time factor. So now a intimation by this electronics method is another new thing. So it is appreciable as per the need. And also in this, to empower the appropriate government to exempt any industrial establishment from any of the provisions of the code in public interest for the specific period. So this is also clause has been there. So it is the government discussion anyway, but this has been criticized by the other side of the employees and unions anyway. Both the plus and the minus will be there. This is one of the provisions. Okay, one must be aware. Next. Then limitation period, conciliation officer and a tribunal. The code provides for a limitation of 2 years for institution of proceeding in respect of any industrial dispute. This is really, really very good. Even in India, we have seen, even in the judiciary and in dispute matters, years together that will all go, time will go, taking the time, etc. But here, the time limit is set, so that way it is good for the aggrieved employee as well as also the management, so that issue can be resolved. And a miscellaneous provision is jurisdiction of a civil court is barred. This is another important aspect. Normally, what we do, we HR and labor law practitioners, whenever any strike or any of these things, normally, gate meeting, obstruction for the movement of the material, okay, and the stoppage of the entering of the lorry or material, etc., etc. All these things will happen, which are all common factors in industrial relations area. Now, those times we used to approach the civil court and get the injunction. So now this civil court is barred. Instead of that, tribunal has come. So all the matters pertaining to this code or industry, now only the tribunal has to go and it has to do. Even civil court has no powers to injunction in the matter. So this is another idea. So therefore, in case of any unrest or any of in such situation, so all must be aware they have to approach the appropriate tribunal and get the relief or whatever that is all required. This is another feature of the thing. Next. Then, as usual, like all the laws, once the beginning is there, end should be also there, because everything cannot be the normal. There will be defaulters, or there will be people, all types of people and industry will be there. Penalties and offenses. So unlawfully, and the first offense, fine up to 10 lakh for the first offense. So one good thing what they have done, they have announced the penalties amount. So otherwise earlier we as an employer or as an employer's body, so we always used to apprehend or fear for the prosecution. Okay, it is not good. Okay, employers will not like, because that is not the cup of the tea. So now that way, one good thing, they have announced the penalty and limit penalties amount. So that way it is good. So that that is the done now. And subsequent offense of imprisonment up to 6 months and fine up to 20 lakh. And even for the illegal strike also, illegal strike and lockout also, imprisonment up to 1 month, or fine of 1 lakh rupees or both, etc., etc. All those provisions have been incorporated, enhancing the penalty limit, which should be the deterrent for the employer. That is one good thing, and as an employers organization, everybody is welcoming that. Next. Then also, wherever these things have been repeated, we say repeat or second time or third time or continuation of the offense. There, therefore they have made a compounding also. So eligibility offense is punishable with imprisonment up to 1 year or with fine or both. So anyway, these are all the legal subjects. They have made 75%, so that compounding will be there. This is another deterrent for the employer not to repeat such things and fall into the line of compliance. So these are all some of the welcome measures for enhancing the financial limit. Okay, no employer or organization has any objections, but only feel it is high. But anyway, at the same time compliance has to be done. That is good move. Next. Next. Next.
Change this.
So I think next. It is not moving.
Just a second, sir. I'm just checking.
So all the major incorporation and the changes in the law, and now this there is no any change in the schedules which were incorporated earlier. 3 schedules, whatever, all there, 3 or 4 schedules. There are 4 schedules. They are all there. First schedule, second schedule, the third schedule. Anyway, as an industry people, as an HR, they are all aware. There is no any change. They are all continuing. So based on that situation, applicable provision, so one has to follow and one should be aware. So that there is no any change. So next. So this is all about the code on industrial relations, wherein we can see the salient feature is introduction of the standing order limitation. Number 1, trade union bargaining agent, and how that will be there further going into the 51%, 20%, whatever that will be there. Then the conciliation proceedings and the tribunals authorities, and subsequently, all these penalties and the chapter removal of chapter 5B, that is a threshold limit of 300, okay, for prior permission with the government. So these are all the changes. I think with this thing, definitely they will help the industry sector, and based on that, as an employer, also take necessary steps, like all our other speakers, what they said, while simultaneously these laws following in spirit and action. So efforts should be made to make job satisfaction for all the employees and laborers, either intrinsically or extrinsically. So that is one of the important challenge and initiative employer, if they take along with these law guidelines, I think everything should go well. Along with this now, Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India, we should add and achieve the purpose. That is what my suggestion. That way, I welcome this move. But more than 10 major trade unions like INTUC, AITUC, C2, BMS, even the BJP supported the BMS unions, they oppose this tooth and nail, particularly this 300 threshold of layoff retrenchment. But anyway, now it is as per the law, because as the earlier speaker also said, we have to attract the investors, and industry should grow, expand, meet the urgent requirements. I think that will all meet in this law. Thank you very much. This is my first presentation as far as the industrial relations code is concerned. Now I request, can you take the occupational and safety, health and working conditions code? That is my second.
Sir, in the meantime, I want to ask one question.
Yeah, please.
Are the trade unions are really relevant in today's perspective? Almost many of the trade unions have died. What are the main reasons?
See, now what happened, many of the employees in almost all sectors, they are also well educated. Number 1, they are also aware what is good and bad. Number 2, and employees, they want to the overall facility and welfare. Many of them, they don't want to get into the any hassles. This is from the employee side. And as far as the employer is concerned, today many of the employers have changed a lot, and compliance level in most of the industries, because I conduct audits for various labor law and HR compliance I have seen, including the SME, medium type organization, new multinational company, compliance level is very high. They are all complying, number 1. Number 2, they are also looking to the employees' welfare beyond the law also in many cases, and by even various employee engagements, and also they are taking care of the employees. The reason being, retention is a problem in all the sectors. So retention being the problem, naturally employers are providing more financial benefit, even over and above of the minimum wage. So because of these reasons, I think employees leaning to trade union becoming less and less. And earlier trade union was social workers. Okay, they usually really used to fight for the cause of the workers. But now, for various reasons, that has been also changed. So that is how, I don't say there is no any relevance for the trade union. In my opinion, as a practitioner, having served for 30 years in the industries, wherever unions are there, my opinion is management will be updated, strong, and they will follow the things because they will be all the time alert. Otherwise, there will be an objection. It all depends on the perspectives of the management. I say if trade union is there, I say it is better I can deal with only 3-4 people. That will be my negotiating agent. If non-union is there, I have to deal with the 10 people, 20 people. Of course, advantage and disadvantages are also there in that. So that way, these are all the reasons from the employer side as well as from the employee side also. Okay, these are things. Because of that, I feel the trade union means it has lost its relevance. To give one more clarity for this, you take IT industries. Lot of I can say exploitations happen. Okay, because their standing order is not applicable. Because of that, 2 years back, 10,000 complaints, 10,000 written complaints were there for the labor department. Sir, there is a lot of exploitation. Now, trade unions started slowly emerging in IT industry. Also, you are answer what I want to say, because of the exploitation and not looking good to the employees and non-compliance of the law. So that is the only reason I can say. That is my answer as far as this question is.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Just only a small request. Then, what type of trade unions do you expect to emerge the post-COVID period, internationally in general, and in India in particular, especially in IT industry where there is no job security, and academic industry also. So many professors they lost their job where we cannot go anywhere. We are not being paid for the last 4 months and all. If the condition is like this for the education industry where most of the educated people are here, then what is going to happen post-COVID for other industries?
Yeah, it is a very good question. If you go back to the movement of trade unions, and even in the industry, we see why trade union will come, why union is going to be formed. I have come across one employer, sir, for 18 years I have looked after all these people. I treated them as my children, but sir, today they have made union, sir. What to do? In fact, he was crying before me. Then I said, don't worry, why you cry for this one? Trade union is a fact and factor. Why you worry about that? When a trade union will come, now you say job loss. One of the important aspects of trade union is security of the employees. Even the earlier speaker told about that. Security of the job. Okay, that is one thing. Second is welfare of the employees. Third one is beyond that, corrective bargaining. These are all the objectives of the trade union. Now, this situation emerged very peculiarly all over the world. Okay, because there was no anybody to speak to the employees or association and all that. Maybe I don't say all are good, all are bad. That's how it emerged. Now, considering this one, but one more approach, even in many times I told, even for my clientele industry, even if there are financing, all these things ultimately, joint talk, joint dialogue. So employees as well as the management both have to sit together because problem is common. Both they understand. They have to come out with via media approach and formalize. That is the only answer. Even in many companies, I did this exercise in communication because ultimately today's situation may be where we might have terminated, but tomorrow we need. Today we are not getting the required talent and the people. So that's how ultimately dialogue. And for that, I advise, as far the employer is concerned, better to have at least internal representatives of the employees. Okay, not only whenever problem is there, even for the day-to-day grievance or any of the important issues, they should have. I think with that we should go. That's what post-COVID.
Thank you very much.
I think I will go for my next thing. Otherwise, question and answer shall I take later? Otherwise, I may fall behind, and time may be the factor. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The next point, I would take the important act on the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. So the objective of this one act, okay, which it consists of 13 acts and subsumed. Next slide you take. Subsumed 13 acts. The objective of let it be that one slide there. To To impart flexibility in adopting technology changes. That is one of the objectives of this thing. That is a new feature in this. And apply to all establishments 10 and more other than the mine and the dock work also. Earlier, there was a restriction on some number. Now apply to all establishments where 10 and above employees are there. And then one registration for one concept has come in this. Then appointment orders mandatory be made. Okay, even today I see in many organizations appointment order will be not there. Now this is to make it mandatory. Then free annual medical checkup so that it will help to detect any disease or any problem, to avoid future problems and proper treatment and continuity of the job. Then migrant labor, we have seen in COVID period how they were all turtled and rattled. So for that, then advisory board for recommendations at state level and central level. Then women for all types of work. Okay, this is really good because this is a recognition for women thing. Otherwise, they were barred to work in certain aspects, including the night shift. Then common license. Okay, this is another important feature in that. Then overriding powers for government to regulate safety, health, and epidemic. Now this having experienced the COVID situation, this situation was sudden. Okay, somewhere in the 1912 something they said there was a plague. Today we are not equipped or ready to face this COVID situation. So this clause has been also added in case of such epidemic or situation. What to do this one? Then a creation of social security fund creation. So these are all very important objectives of this code. That is how all this is being made. This is basically Factory Act. Take next slide also. Take next slide. Contract labor, DOC, interstate migrant worker act, MTWA, BD and cigar workers. Next slide. So such 13 acts were all subsumed in this code. Okay, I'm not going to read all these acts because of the positivity of the time, and earlier speakers have already narrated about this. So therefore, I am not going to the details, but all these have been brought together, they subsumed, classified, made into that, wherever repetition was there, they avoided and they made. That way it was a really hilarious task. Okay, that is one of the good things in this. Next slide. So now this is act. What is the applicability of the act? This, as I said, code is applicable to every place carrying on any industry, trade, business, or manufacturing, or occupation, even motor transport, newspaper establishment, audio-visual production, building, construction work, plantation for licensing purpose, where there are 10 or more workers are employed. Now earlier only factory, mines, plantation. Okay, BOC, unorganized workers were left. Now this is wider arms, we can say. Arms are wider, everybody is covered. Mine or port or vicinity of port where dock work is carried on, that has been covered. And threshold criteria will not be applicable for the establishment where notified hazardous life-threatening activities being carried on. There are certain hazardous industries. In fact, Factory Act Section 2B defines what are all hazardous activities. So here, this number is not a bar. Okay, even one person is there that they can cover. So that is what important. Earlier, always we used to say labor laws is nothing but a head count. So now this has been taken out and it has been revised. And next is apply to the provisions of the proposed code for establishment 10 or more registration. I have already told you in that. And now coming to the factory chapter of the Factory Act, you are all aware. Earlier, last year and before that year, some states like Rajasthan, they amended their state rules by reducing the number of factories act. Now it has been made uniform. That is premises with 20 or more workers, plus manufacturing with the aid of the power. Earlier it was 10, now made 20. Premises with the 40 more workers, manufacturing process without the aid of the power. Earlier it was 20. So it has been enlarged. This is one of the first steps we should keep in mind. Okay, there is a enlarged. Then coming to the Contract Labor Act, you are all aware 20 and above. If the employer engages 20, he has to have the concept. If the contractor engages 20, he should have the license. Now this has been removed and 50 and more. That's what it is made. That is a new change. And in respect of Interstate Migrant Workman Act, every contractor with a 10 or more interstate migrant workmen, earlier it was 5 and above, now it has been made 10. Applicability. The number is enlarged. Then sales promotion employees, that is a separate act, which was applicable. Applicability is extended beyond the pharma and the notified industry other than supervisory and manager capacity. Here salary limit they have fixed of 18,000 and below. And of course, managerial and administrative capacity people are not involved, considered in this. That's why the employees coverage will be there. And one thing we should keep in mind in all these codes, definition of wage is common across all the 3 codes. Of course, today I am not dealing with that is Code of Wages Act. Definition of wage has a larger bearing. Okay, on that, the liability of the employer will be more. It has a consequences. Anyway, that is subject by itself because it has got 3 provisions. Special. Okay, that's how it will be there. Then the definition of contract labor is common across the 3 codes. So that is one uniformity is there. Earlier it was not so. Then exclusion of apprentices. Okay, that is from across all these codes. That is one of the important there. FTE clause is not added in this. And earlier I said employee means okay. So that has been also there. Now clerks, manager, technical. Okay, all are added. So that is one of the employee definition is involved. They are all covered and they are eligible under the benefits under this law. And even the government has kept rules. A person declared to be an employee by the central government, but does not include any member of the army, air force, etc. Some exclusions also they have pushed. And another important thing is core activities of the establishment. In fact, this was the bone of the contention everywhere. Of course, long back, government of Andhra has kept this clause of core activity in Contract Labor Act. They, into first time in the country, they made very clear what are the core activities, what are all not core activities. You are all aware, under the law, for perennial activities, okay, regular contract labor should not be engaged. Or where the contract labor is abolished, their contract labor should not be engaged. That was the rule. So now in this act, what is core activities, what is not core activity, everything is defined. That way I say it is really revolutionary guide for the employer and avoidance of litigations by the union. And 11 activities are excluded. Anyway, that is in the act like housekeeping, security, etc., etc. That is the one good of the thing. Then intermittent or casual nature of the work, where contract labor can be is also like the seasonal industry, okay, food industry, depending on the need. All that has been explained. That is really good in that. And another marvelous definition, change the definition, we see in the Interstate Migrant Workman Act. Okay, here the definition now includes a person directly recruited by the employer in one state for employment in another state, or a worker who have come on their own from one state to another. Okay, this is the new thing, which is the crux of the issue. And this code has also made a capping limit of wages of 18,000 rupees. I mean, worker who is drawing below 18,000 rupees, following the above clauses, he is an interstate migrant workman is called. Friends, this is one lesson and one thing we should keep in mind. Of course, in Bangalore, as an industry person, as an HR advisor, I have seen many of the organizations are running there. The entire organizations by engaging Northern Indian, Bihari, so many other people. Okay, for all their regular activities, and they were all, when it is there, they never used to say migrant labor is not there. So for them now it is a given protection. So therefore it is a compliance point the employer has to keep in mind. And the contractor is also, now the defined definition now qualifies supplies contract labor for any work of the establishment by adding words as mere human resource. Okay, this is what the definition. But one thing I am not clear, not only supply of human resource or contract labor, in some of the organization, though the contract-based work will be the quantum work, what we say. Okay, so there, what is the contract right now? That is not clear under this thing. Anyway, we have to wait and see this one. I mean, person who engages labor or provides human resource is a contractor. Then manufacturing process is also defined because there in that 3 or 4 dimensions of printing, prototyping, flexography, all these have been added. And the principal employer, now in the Mines Act, manager is also added, because these are all new things. Therefore, I'm highlighting some of the definitions. Appropriate government is also defined. Okay, and contract labor also includes Interstate Migrant Workmen Act. Okay, that's what very important in another thing. The employer also is defined through any person, and here now occupier of the factory is added. Okay, that is the employer. And the industrial premise is also defined. We see this in the Factory Act. Therein, trade, industry, business, etc., is being carried on with or without with the aid of the power, includes a godown. Okay, that is what very important. Like lot of warehouse, supply chain companies. Okay? Now godown is also covered in this. Otherwise, earlier they were in Shops and Establishment Act. Now they are going to cover under this. That's what the new thing. Then the sales promotion employees definition is also defined. Okay, I have already told you with the 18,000 rupees cap also. So to make the provision for social security fund, okay, for the welfare of the unorganized workers, this is really remarkable. Sarve janaha sukhino bhavantu, because state is the Raja. Okay, king for that they are taking care. Then license and registration. Okay, now as I said, common license. The code provides for a common license in respect of a factory, industrial premise, BD, cigar, contract labor. Okay, combination of thereof for a single license for any of them license for a period of, and this license hold for 5 years. Okay, that is one of the important. Next slide. So this is all very important. But one doubt I have, this common license, how they make, how they go, because factory, contractor, because various things will be there, how they do and all that, and across nation they are telling. Anyway, we have to wait for the details of that. However, with the technology and other things, it should not be difficult for all that. The next is the registration, safety, health, and welfare of that. Anyway, almost all the same procedures they are all taking. Now registration, where there are employees are there, everything is online. They have to make, and they have to take all this electronically. They have to make. And also the officer also has to process and all that, and deemed procedures also they have done, and they have to provide electronically generated certificate. So that way it is all good. That is the thing. And whenever there is any change in the organization, what we call an amendment. So there also ownership or the management, they have to submit the particulars. They have to do with all that, and inspector can approve that one within a prescribed time and get it approved immediately on electronic stuff. The same way, closing also. I told registration, any amendment, closing also, the employer of an establishment within 1 month, he has to intimate, okay, electronically. Then all the information, etc., they have to submit online, and the registering officer or the cancelling officer within 60 days. Okay, he has to make such establishment and deemed to have, if we don't do within 60 days, then it is deemed submission. Friends, the advantage here, one need not run to the departments. One need not meet the inspectors. Automatically things will happen. So this is what one of the advantage, and I see ease of the business. In the GST, for example, we don't see anybody. Registration also, impersonally it will be all done. That way it is good. So that way it is happening in the labor field also, which is good. And also once now I said registration, amendment, and cancellation. And another obligation on the employee is once they start or once they close the operations, okay, notice of commencement and closure, we say it has to be submitted to the department or appropriate authorities. That is one of the obligation of the employer. It was there in contract labor, but now it is all uniform. Okay, now it is all done. So apart from this, as a practitioners, compliance people, academicians, we should know what are all the duties of the employer and employees also. Earlier laws, they were scattered here and there. Now it is all consolidated. That is all made in the section 6 of the Act. Duties of the employer, that is the chapter 3, section 6, it is mentioned. What are all the duties of the employers? Workplace should be free, safety, compliance, okay, annual health examination, okay, age of the, they have to keep all that, etc., etc. I'll not go into the detail because of the paucity of the time. The same way, ensure disposal of hazardous and toxic waste, etc., etc. And appointment order issue is a mandatory, which is formalization of the employment, and instruction, training, supervision are all necessary for the health and safety of all the employees. These were all duties of the employers. At the same time, faces of the 2 coin. Duties of the employees are also mentioned in the chapter 3 of section 13. Take reasonable care for the health of the safety and comply all the safety provision, cooperate with the management for all doing the thing, and unsafe and healthy conditions, if they come notify, willfully he should not interfere, and also the perform such other duties, etc., etc. Okay, these are all some of the borrowings from the Factories Act. They have all been added and made a common. We should make aware for all the employees, and the employer should also follow. So thereby, things will go very well and important things. Then some of the again important provisions are safety and health of committees and safety officers. Chapter 4 deals about this one. There are not much any change because it's already there in the Mines Act and the Factory Act. So managements have to constitute a safety committee prescribed manner, okay, consisting of representatives of the employers and workers. Okay, so in every establishment, in the factory carrying hazardous process, what are all the number? I come to the end. Okay, particularly in hazardous industry, it is a mandate and it's very important for the safety committee. Then in a building and other construction workers also, they have to committee should be there. Number I'll come to the end. Then the mines also, where 100 and more people are all there, there also this safety and health provisions are added to that. Then what are all the responsibility of the employer for maintaining health, safety and working conditions? Chapter 5 elaborately deals that one. Later we can all go through with that. Establishment of safety, working conditions, okay, by following the prescribed standards by the government like cleanliness, hygiene, ventilation, potable drinking water, effective arrangement for waste, etc., etc. These are all borrowing from the Factories Act. And employers are responsible for maintaining such welfare facilities for the purpose as may be prescribed by central government. Not only this, central government may enhance and change like washing facilities, locker rooms, restroom, adequate first aid boxes, etc., etc., and the facilities of the canteen, etc., etc. also. Then what are all the procedural requirements? Now I will share registration, some of the procedures, notice of commencement, notice of dangerous occurrence and accidents. These are all borrowings from the Factories Act. There, details are there. Whenever any accident happens, within 48 hours, more than 48 hours, is what we say reportable accident. We say, okay, data should be there. And also now it has been made to the motor transport workers also, and intimate for the apprehension of the imminent danger. Also, not only accident, imminent danger if there is anything also. That's what hazardous process or dangerous act, what we say in the Factories Act. Okay, that has been also that is what the procedural requirement. Next slide. So next slide is on general health and next slide. General health and working conditions of the next slide. Okay, the code specifies the general health and working conditions like cleanliness, hygiene, ventilation, temperature of the humidity, etc. for all employees, and it has to be adhered by the establishment. And also the general welfare facilities also, it is the mandatory for all the employees, and canteen and all that threshold thing is there, which I'll come to that. So these are all some of the general regulations which have been kept in the same thing. Then coming to the hours of work and leave with wages, important chapter, same thing. There is no any change. Only change is whenever an employee is asked to do the overtime, there should be consent. This is the new change. Otherwise, overtime, more than 48 hours, okay, overtime. So, okay, subject to that, those are the things. And notice of periods of work also mandatory. That is all same thing is continuing overlapping of the shift. Then leave the wages. One of the important change you will see here. Okay, earlier it was 240 days in a preceding year to get a leave, and an employee has to put in a service of 240 days was there. Now under the new code, it is 180 days. 240 to 180 days is reduced. Okay, this you have to keep in mind. New law. Please make a note of that. And on that, for every completion of 20 working days, 1 day leave, which is continuing under the section 32 of that. Of course, government may from time to time make different regulations for the establishment, okay, by the central government also. And also the twice the rate of the wage in the wage. And also, however, the working hours, days, what we say, same thing is continuing, that is 6 days in a week. That there is no any change, except in Motor Transport Workers Act, because that operations are entirely different. Some extension is there. Then a night shift for women employees. Now it is a new to our states. Of course, in Tamil Nadu, already night shift is there in the factories. Long back it has come. Now even government of Karnataka has been allowed to women to work in a night shift subject to certain conditions. I mean, safety provisions are very strict. It has provision for night shift, that is about 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. That is what but with the consent of the women that they have to make, and particularly in all the holidays, etc. That is one of the important inclusion, I can say. Then contract labor, okay, liability of the principal employer regarding welfare facilities. One of the very important notable thing we should see here. Earlier in contractor contractor has to provide first aid, water, toilet, creche room, okay, rest room for ladies, etc., etc. Or if contractor don't provide, principal employer has to provide, and debit days account. That was the law earlier. Now it has been changed. Now what is the new thing? Now the onus of providing canteen, restroom, drinking water, first aid on the principal employer. This is a cost factor for the principal employer. This is one of the new things which everybody should know. And it has done away with the requirement of contractor to provide such facilities in the first instance. Okay, now it is all the principal employer only has to do, and he has to take, because contractor is the employer under section 53 and 54 of that. Then payment of the wages act also, in this what it has done relating to the payment should be made by bank transfer or other electronics mode to the contract labor. Of course, electronic mode almost everywhere it has come, but it was not in the law, but now it has been incorporated in the law. Then interstate migrant workmen, toll-free helpline. What is interstate migrant workmen? We are already aware in our previous slide. Toll-free helpline has been provided for them. Friends, you are all aware during COVID, what was the position of the migrant labor, how they were toiled and moiled. So allowed that free helpline has been made, and also portability to avail benefits, that registration is made. I'm not going to the detail. However, learn from the mistake. What we see, that step has been taken. That is really good. And next one is CDA Workers Act. Further provisions are on earlier, which was not there, though it was there. Provisions relating to the health and working conditions, safety hours, work and welfare facilities, all that they have been incorporated, which is a new thing. Then a prohibition of employment of audio-visual workers without agreement or appointment order, whatever say, that way now they are all protected. Audio-visual, they are all covered, and the workers also. And some wage ceiling is going to be notified by the central government. Right now, they have not put any wage ceiling limit like a migrant labor or worker 18,000, but government may shortly come with that they are going to put for senior workers. Next slide. Next slide. Next is regarding the registers and returns, important chapter from the compliance point of view. Code has introduced a provision relating to electronic filing or return on electronics maintenance of registers, like containing like work performed by the workers, wage period, leave wages, overtime wages, attendance, maternity benefit, and the display of notices as prescribed, issue of wage slips on electronics media, and annual return. All these have been made. Here, a lot of simplification is there. Earlier, so many registers, so many notifications, so many displays were there. All they have been reduced here. Maybe we have to see in the provisions for all that. Okay, and prescribed the government may do. These are all as far as the statutory compliance is concerned from the compliance point of view. And next important topic is offences and the penalties, like all other things. I'm not going to the details because it is a dry topic. However, it has been, as I said earlier, it has been enhanced. Okay, quantum is enhanced. Okay, and all that has been taken. And one more important thing in the Employees Compensation Act, whenever a penalty is levied to the employer, 50% of that should be given as a compensation to the heirs of the victim in case of death and all that. This is really, really good. Anatho Devarakshakaha, we say. Okay. So this is in addition to the compensation, whatever he gets under EC Act. This is one of the notable fact and good thing we can say as far as the welfare is concerned. Okay. So these are all various penalties are there. They are all in higher numbers. Okay. So that one can go through the reader. Now, very important slide now, next slide. Okay, so next please, very important slide. I think you all should know this one. I said, what are all the threshold limit labor law as far as the considered to be considered. For example, for the safety committee and safety officer, factory safety officer, earlier, if there are more than 1,000 workers, appointment of factory safety officer was mandate. Now it has been reduced to 500. If there are more than 500 employees, obligation on the part of the employer to appoint qualified safety officer. Please note, this is a cost factor. Of course, from our point of view, employment opportunities for a safety professional. Then if it is a hazardous process of the industry, then earlier it was 500, now it has been 250 employees. Like chemical industry, pharma industry, chlorine, wherever they produce. These are all called hazardous industry as defined under Section 2 CP of Factory Act. So if there are 250, now it has been reduced from 500. That will be there. Then Building and Other Construction Workers Act. If there was a 500, then no welfare officer, safety committee was all that is there. Now it has been also reduced to 250. Mines, it was 200 to 100 it is made. Then factory canteen, or what we can say, statutory canteen. Earlier it was 250 and above. Now it has been made to 100. Please note, if there are more than 100 employees in a factory, obligation on the part of the occupier to provide a canteen facilities, cost factor. Canteen committee, etc., all that, blah, blah, it has to follow. Please note. Then ambulance room in the factory, DOC and Factory Act, 500 was there. 500 employees. That there's no any change. It is all continuing. Then earlier, lunch room or rest room, what we say, if there are more than 150 employees, then there was supposed to be lunch or rest room. Now it has been reduced to 50 and above. Okay, so rest room, this is all. And not only that, what the law says, adequate, suitable, separate shelter, restroom for male, female, and transgender employees in mine, factory, or where ordinarily employed. Now, along with male and female, transgender has come now. Please keep in mind. Okay, now these are all more in numbers. They are also coming. Even there should be separate lunchroom. These are all some of the cost factor. And also keep in mind as far as the compliance point of view. Then welfare officer. Earlier it was 500 and above. That's how earlier we used to got inducted as a labor welfare officer. Textile and labor movement, if we see, origin of welfare officer. That's how now it has been 250. If there are 250 and above, welfare officer should be there. Creche. Next is important factor. Creche, 6 years of babies. Earlier it was 30 women workers were there. Then it was a mandate. Now what it is made, 50 employees. Only it is mentioned. 50 workers. Female is taken out. No male, no female. If there are more than 50 workers are ordinarily employed, mandate to maintain the creche. Okay, that is one of the important. But I hope we'll all agree because nowadays have been changed. Child nurture or child growing is, it is not only the mother's duty, it is father's duty also. We are saying in the field. I think it is again taken from a maternity benefit act where female is not mentioned. 50 and above creche facility is there. The same thing is taken here. Then the next is annual leave. I have already told you. Next slide. Earlier it was 240 days. Now it has been taken for 180 days. It has to be next. It has to be taken for 180 days. For every 20 days, one leave will be there. In mines, it is for every 15 days. Whereas in factories and others, for every 20 days. And one more important new thing I am seeing here when I went deep into the subject. There was no mention of encashment of leave in the laws. Okay, it was silent law, earlier law. Now encashment can have the worker on his demand for encashment of leave at the end of the calendar year. Worker can ask the encashment, which was not so earlier. And such workers shall be entitled whether his total number of leave exceeds 30 days to encash such exceeded leave. Of course, this 30 days maximum accumulation is not changed. That is all continuing. Even for the excess leave over and above 30, earlier we used to say either you utilize or it will lapse. That is what we used to say. Okay, our advice to the industries and employees. Now that encashment clause is come, so therefore it is a law. It is put it in writing. And another important notable thing, normally grievances emerged in the industry, as I have seen, holiday or leave calculation. Law is made clear now. Any holiday falling between the leave availed by such work, that's what such falling between the leave by workers in a calendar year, prefix or suffix shall be excluded from the period of leave so calculated. This was one of the bone of the contention. Lot of grievance, non-clarity. Leave rules were not clear. I think the law has given end to such factor. So therefore, we all as a professionals, even the academicians should note now the rewriting of the law as far as the new provision is the need of the hour under this new context. That's what very important. Next slide. This is the end of my second presentation. So these are all the important notifications as far as the occupation and health is concerned. Okay, so that is what the important. So these are all some of the, I say, many of the critics, they say, oh, what is this code? Old wine in a new bottle. Take the next third slide. So this presentation is closed. Take to the next third point, that is the code on social security. Quickly, I'll take to that. So many critics and unions, they say, what is this law code? Oh, nothing but an old wine in a new bottle. What is that they have done? Okay, earlier law was only code. It was only exhaustive, all that used to say. I feel there are some cosmetic changes, if not in detail, some old, some new. I don't say old wine in a new, but I say all is old and new in a new bottle. I can say this one. Old and new has been taken, and as per the need and necessity also, things have been taken, like all these unorganized workers or senior workers, okay, and women, etc., etc. There, I can say those are all the new things. Friends, quickly now, I should not run out of the time. Code on security, quickly I will take next slide. So as far as the code of security is concerned, the objective is to amend and consolidate laws relating to social security with a goal to extend social security to all employees and workers in organized or unorganized and all the sectors. In other words, now it is extended arms for everybody. So these are all 9 laws, okay, which have been taken. I will not read the laws because of the time you are all, but basically PF, PSI, gratuity, all those things are there. Next slide. As far as the applicability is concerned, the code is applicable to all establishments subject to minimum threshold. 10 I have already said. Employees Provident Fund 20 will continue. ESI 10 only will continue. Maternity benefit 10 and above. Gratuity 10 and above only, it is all continue. That there is no any change. Some of the definition is, I mean, wage definition. That is the code of wages act. So that is being taken. Anyway, it is all same in the across. We have to see that one. And the contract labor is also same everywhere. And apprentices are enclosed. Then a different definition is FTE, that is fixed term employment. And platform worker is a new definition. Interstate migrant worker is a new definition. Okay, and those are all the things. Code also introduced a wage capping of 18,000 for all that. Then other important definitions in this, almost from the same code, is employee, completed year of service, gig worker, home-based worker, and also important self-employed worker. Okay, this is really new and interesting thing. Okay, anyway, we have to wait and see the rules. So now key changes as far as the employee state insurance is concerned. So one first important now is 10 and above is a mandatory. Okay, now the present law and it is existing, even it is in the code. But here flexibility is given. Even where there is a less than 10, even 1 or 2, if it is a hazardous industry, and government can be extend to the hazardous industry, even if it's less than 10, that is also there. Otherwise, also as an employer, if they want to provide medical benefits and get indemnified as a social security, he has an option to register under PF and ESI. And at the same time, even he can go out also as long as he complies the number. That is one of the good things, but subject to agreement of the majority workers, all that I say. This is one really good thing I can see in this. The facility of ESI is available now in for almost 740 districts in the country. And gig workers, okay, they are also going to get ESI. Plantation workers, earlier it was not mandatory. Now also it is given option for them, okay, for the plantation worker. And another important aspect, now many of the companies, particularly in small and medium organizations, I have come across due to the financial crunch or some upsets, they don't, they delay in the payment of the contributions. So if there is a delay in non-contribution, then the employees, they lose the benefits under ESI. Law has come to the rescue now. What they have done, even if the employer fails to pay the contribution during that period, ESI can provide the treatment. So employee is not, excluded for the treatment. They provide the employment treatment, and ESI later, along with the damage and interest, can recover from the employees by following the due process. Okay, so this is one of the really good thing. This is a good for the workers. And also ESI excessive sickness claim. This is one all the employers should note. In an organization, particularly people are sick on and off because of the non-hygiene or bad practices or ugly things, cleanliness, hazardous, etc., etc. Section 43 states liability of the owner, occupier of factory, etc. for excessive sickness benefits. Employees avail more sickness benefits due to that. They know ESI corporation consider the incidence of sickness among insured is excessive by reasons of insanitary working conditions, neglect of the owner to observe any health regulations, enjoying on him. Okay, then corporation may claim extra incurred by it as a sickness benefit from the employer. Hey, this is really good and bad, two-way sword, I can say. So, but the lesson is here for the employer, industries. They should be maintaining all the parameters of safety, health, cleanliness, hygiene, etc. So, this is one of the very important and key factors. And as far as the provident is concerned, major reforms in employees' provident is incorporating is a 5 years limitation. Otherwise, I have seen in the field and a lot of problems and issues. 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, officers used to claim, levy the penalty, claim for that, submit register. It was a big problem for the employer. There was no any limitation. Whereas in ESI, at least 5 years was there. Okay, so by the one of the notification. But now PF also now it is 5 years. Okay, this is one of the good things that is notable change. And everything is Aadhaar based registration is maintained. Anyway, though Supreme Court said the Aadhaar is not mandatory, but in this act, okay, Aadhaar is the main thing. And all establishment 20 and above, that will be there, and voluntary contribution also I have done. Okay, and all employees come under the scheme has been designed for coverage of self-employed also. Okay, this provision is also made. Okay, that is what the one of the good thing we can say. Then creation of social security boards for organized workers. Okay, that is one of the, it is a propagating now. Details have to come for all that. Then coverage of gig and platform workers, unorganized workers under the ambit of social security, which is really good. And also it fund schemes to include funds from corporate social responsibility or any other source. How the source is, that also they have brought out. Anyway, details they have to come for all that. Okay. Also enabling provisions for constituting the specific purpose vehicle for the purpose of implementation schemes for unorganized workers. So I mean moving dispensary, etc., which is also good. Okay, and bill also makes a provision for registration of all three categories of workers, that is gig workers, platform workers, and unorganized workers. This is really good and all that. So the same thing. Then general change. Okay, general change is now you take next slide. General change is earlier we used to call inspectors, and inspectors have a wide powers for that. There is a separate chapter in all the labor, all the laws. Please take next slide. The general change now, the inspector is renamed as inspector cum facilitator. Okay, they have been made as a facilitator. Okay, that is one change. It means earlier inspector's job is to see only non-compliance. Fine, I make inspection. You have not done. You have not done all that. But now it is not so. He should be an advisor. He should facilitate, bring to the notice. All that is there. Okay, how it will all go, we have to wait and see. But many of the inspectors are not happy about that. You know the reasons for all that. Okay, he has to provide the information, advice to the employers also for effective means of complying the provision. That's why. So he has been made as a facilitator also. Okay, that is one of the new things. Then licensing and registration. The code requires establishment applies be registered within the prescribed time. That will be there. Okay, there is all online only again. Of course, in gratuity, there is no license only other than notifying the comments or opening, closing, and any amendment. And under the Maternity Benefit Act also, there is no any registration as such. And everything is Aadhaar based for all that for unorganized workers, etc. Registration should be done for all that. And one of the important thing in the PF is EDLI contribution rate is increased from 0.5 to 1. You know, EDLI is nothing but a insurance, additional insurance. In addition to PF and family pension, the employee will get insurance. That way, this is good. Welcome measure, I can say. Not much burden to the employer. And PPF contribution is 10%, can be extended up to 12% by the central government. Now, earlier there was a proposal to make this 25,000 from 15,000. Anyway, this is only the thinking, but it has not come. But lot of pros and cons are also there. There was a thinking to make it 10% also. All these we have to wait and see how they are all going to come in ensuing days. And defer or reduce our contribution rate and new provision added by the government, like facing this corona situation, etc., etc. In case of corona situations, epidemic, government can think of reducing this contribution rate. This is really good. Anyway, future thing, because now we learn from the corona. And as far as the gratuity is concerned, there are no any changes in the gratuity except fixed term employee. Fixed term employee, wherever it is there, application of 5 years is not applicable. He is entitled even for 2 years, 3 years. Okay, so that will be all there. And, only one thing, gratuity period is reduced for the working journalist from 5 years to 3 years. For the working journalist, it is reduced. There was a thinking to make gratuity for 1 year in other case. That's what moved by the employees, but anyway, it has not come into the detail. And as far as the maternity benefit is concerned, 3,500 is the medical benefit with a cap of 20,000. Government can make, no any change. Then unorganized workers, gig workers, platform workers, social security for them is also funded by CSR funds or by the contribution by the aggregators, which will be there for 1 to 2%. That is what it is all thought of. However, the maximum rate of contribution for this fund is at the rate of 5% for the gig workers payable by them. And schemes for unorganized workers to extend ESI benefit, government may also come. That is another organization. And next quick act is employment exchange compulsory notification of act, we say. Okay, so in that, there is no any change. Now it has been again they change empanelment of information of monitoring, employment information and monitoring. That's what it is said. Job seekers can register their vocational guidance, etc. Care centers, that will be all given. And employers have to submit the particulars, etc., etc. And they need not obligation to take the job employees from the employment exchange. But filing return is a mandatory. But however, taking employee is not mandatory. This is all about Employment Exchange Act. Now that is called Employment Information and Monitoring Cell. It is called some changes in that. Now coming to the registers and returns, the course has introduced provision relating to the electronics filing of return and electronics maintenance of registers containing the particulars like hours of work performed by the employees, wage period, leave wages, overtime, attendance, and also the display, like type of display is yet to be notified by the rules, what we say abstract and all that. And one more important thing, the good what I saw in this change is limitation period. The code provides for a limitation of 5 years. This I have already told you for the do's and all that. And also appointment of judicial authorities along with one more officer in the appeal. That is also one of the good move. Okay, and one of the most important as a practitioner of HR and labor law, what I have seen and welcome in this act is section 126 under this act. Immediately it is not visible, but we have to read in detail. Then only we will come to know. Earlier, in case of all default or delay in the payment, recovery of the dues, all these whenever we wanted to go for an appeal against the order of the immediate officer, they used to insist for more than 50%, 70%, 75% deposit of the assessed amount. Now it has given a break. Now the law has a mandate appeal against the order of authorized officer relating to the chapter 4, depositing 25% of the contribution is so ordered. This is really, really good. Otherwise, medium and small organizations depositing the same thing, fighting, and for that interest and all that, how much that will be there? It was really painful and burdensome to the employer. Now they have made it 25%. Yes, 25% is okay. With that, he can fight, and further he has to wait for the outcome of the order and follow, adhere, etc., etc. This is a really good move. That way, it is beneficial to the employers. The same way, penalties and offenses are also. This is all again double enhanced, etc. Failing to pay and all that. That is only the monetary fear for the employer, not prosecution and all that. In fact, earlier we as an employers, because I being a man from Chamber of Commerce, FKCCI and all that, we always used to fight with the government officers, ministers. Sir, why prosecute, sir? We are all job providers. Industries are job providers. Particularly SMEs they are economy builders. They provide jobs without much conditions. Ordinary talent they take and make extraordinary talent. Sir, why you prosecute? Why you show the gumma of prosecution? Don't prosecute, take penalty. Anyway, government has considered that aspect, and penalties, they are levying. That penalty is higher. Anyway, that is a matter of judiciary and advocates. Let us not go into the detail. But as a compliance people, and for the good compliance, you must inform your employers, institutions, organizations, what are all the consequences in case of non-following of these things. That's what the important things of that. Friends, with this thing, my presentation on these three codes, though I have made overall view, what are all the important things and all that. So though there are some cosmetic changes, because some like FTE, strike, okay, the casual strike, this new calculation, and number, threshold number, covering of the social security for all, women, etc. They are all good. Well, and workers also get benefits for out of that, because ultimately they are also taken care by social security. This is all my presentation. I have one video of